The second reading from Kohelet or Ecclesiastes chapter 1 begins at verse 4. Generations come and generations go, but the earth will remain forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, but it speeds to its place and rises there. The wind blows south, and then it turns north. The wind blows all around, and keeps returning to its rounds. All the rivers flow to the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they keep on flowing. That had to be one of the mysteries, isn't it? Well, I live here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, and I'm very close to a very big, mighty river, one of the main tributaries in the valley, or the Fraser Valley. It's called the Fraser River. It is huge and runs for miles and miles and miles. And I don't know exactly how large this river is, but it is fairly huge. And but it doesn't matter where you live. If you live near a river, where do they go? Where do they get all the water? I mean, you can trace them back, and the rivers are fed by a bunch of streams. And these small streams eventually become brooks, and brooks become a little trickle of water bubbling out of some little artesian well, maybe, on some hillside. And yet, by the time they get near the sea, there are mighty raging rivers that are very deep and very strong and very powerful. And yet, over hundreds of years now, Europeans have lived here in this country called Canada. And many other nations too have joined us, Asia and India and Africa, and many people from all over the world dwell here, along with the First Nations people, the natives of the land, and the various tribes and tongues and nations that dwell within them. And yet, one of the mysteries of life is, where does all that water go? In the end, it pours into the ocean. And yet, the ocean doesn't rise. Or at least it didn't until just here recently, when we've had polar ice caps melt, and now the waters are starting to bring up a bit. But still, it's a mystery, because you look up on top of the hills, and there always seems to be a snow cap, and there always seems to be ice in the north. There always seems to be these things, and yet it just flows and flows and flows, and you wonder where it all comes from in the end. Did the ocean then spring a little tap and pump it through, and does God have a little motor down there under the earth we don't know about to keep these little springs flowing? I don't know. It's one of those things. Why doesn't that ocean get full? One of the issues of life is these streams of life that follow. He says, I will give you rivers of life. These are life circumstances, situations that bring us life, continually flowing through our land. They water us. Some are little tiny trickles, a little droplet, a little word that's placed in season. Maybe it was a friend that talked to you. Maybe it was a rabbi who counseled with you. Maybe it was a life circumstance. But eventually these flow in and become mighty rivers, and they flow through our lands, and they go out into the ocean, into the void, and into the masses of people. Something to think about. Where does all the water go? Shalom Aleichem. Goodbye.